Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. Today's guest is Mark Singh, who is joining us from Colorado. He's an NLP dating coach for men, and he specializes in working with entrepreneurs, go-getters, and growth-orientated men, and he helps them meet and date more women. So it's an interesting conversation we have. We're going to talk about how at 28 he found NLP and it saved him from anxiety, panic attacks, and suicidal tendencies. So remember, there will be talk about suicide in this episode. So if you do need support, please reach out to Lifeline on 13 11 14 and seek the appropriate help. So we also discuss how we can reprogram our brains, right? It is possible. Some common challenges with men and dating, right? Also other things around why people and why men don't challenge their beliefs and how our belief systems are an illusion. So it's an incredible episode. Get your pen and paper out, and remember, all the links are in the show notes to reach out to Mark or shoot myself some emails. Now, gents, if you haven't looked into the Inner Circle program, take some time now. If you're on your phone, open up your web browser, drop in themanthatcanproject.com/inner circle and check it out. It is our global community for men online, right? We help men create momentum in all the 8 areas of their life. There's an incredible support group, plenty of modules to work through on our online community. Plus, we just meet every week online and make sure you're in check with your goals and discuss our topic of the week. It is phenomenal to be a part of, and the men that are, honestly creating huge momentum and seeing the changes that they're making, and just the mateship that goes on is really something that I'm proud of and something I'm very, very grateful to be a part of. I wish I had this earlier in my life. So make sure you definitely jump and check that out now at the Inner Circle. Remember to subscribe to be updated for future episodes and share on your social medias. I'm still giving away one free one-on-one coaching session with me. It doesn't matter where in the world you are, but we will help you create more certainty, clarity, and give you some structure moving forward to become the man that you want to do. So in order to do that, all you need to do is share on Instagram or Facebook and tag myself at Lachlan Stuart and at the Man That Can Project. So share your favorite episode and what you're loving about it. That will be drawn at the end of the month. Every share counts as a vote. Let's dive into the episode.
You're listening to the Man That Can Project with Lachie Stuart, a global movement created to empower men and open up what's really going through their minds by having real and raw conversations about life's unique challenges and our individual ways of processing it all. Welcome to the Man That Can Project.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Man That Can Project podcast. I'm your host and founder of the Man That Can Project. And today we've got an exciting guest joining us from Colorado, Mark Singh. Now, Mark is an NLP dating coach for men who specializes in working with entrepreneurs, go-getters, and growth-orientated men and helps them meet and date more women. And Mark, when I first got introduced to you, it's literally funny. The last couple of guests that I've had I've been really wanting topics which, we'll discuss to come on the podcast, because there's so many men asking me questions in which, I have an idea around, but it's not my niche, so to speak. So when we got linked up, I was like, this is going to be fantastic. And I've listened to your podcast. So you're also a podcast host of the Unapologetic Man podcast. So guys, go check that out. I'll link that in the show notes. I've listened to 3 episodes in the last 24 hours, and there's a whole heap of gems there. And just the way you fire it across really resonates with me. So I know our audience, the Man That Can Project audience, will definitely resonate with it as well. But Mark, thank you so much for your time, mate. And I'm very, very excited to have you on. So how are things over in Colorado at the moment?
They're good, brother. Hey, listen, I appreciate you having me on. I too have listened to your podcast. I was listening to a bunch of them over the last few days, and I love what you say. So, kindred spirits always attract each other, as we have here. So I appreciate you having me on. As for Colorado, things are great, man. We're getting the vaccine over here in the States, and things are mellowing out a little bit. So yeah, man, things are good. And the party is about to start. Once that COVID is solved, the girls are going to come out of their basements like pale trolls and like, oh, I just want to meet a guy. So it's a really exciting time. Definitely.
Definitely. So take us obviously through, in the lead up, take us back to, I guess, a point in your life that made you into the man you are today, and that really sort of founded the Unapologetic Man and got you into the coaching space.
Yeah. So, when I was 25, I moved to Japan. And in Japan, I was an English teacher. I was part of this thing called the JET program, Japanese Exchange Teaching Program. And I was a language teacher. So I did that for a couple of years. And I really got into Japanese and I got into studying it. And eventually I became a translator. Well, one day I got a translation job in Osaka and I was on stage and the lady was talking and I was translating for an American audience. And she said a word that I didn't understand. And the word was meneki, which means immunity. And I was like, what the meneki? I don't know what that is. And mind you, I'd been studying like 16 hours a day for the past 4 years, just absolutely, completely committed to learning Japanese. And I got a little nervous. So I asked her again, what was that? And she said it again, and it didn't clear anything up for me. So at that moment, I had a panic attack. And I've always had anxiety throughout my whole life. I feel like when it comes to anxiety, a lot of us are kind of born that way. We're just prone to it. And usually it is genetic, by the way. So I had a panic attack and it was like all the walls started closing in and everything inside of me just told me to run. And I must have looked completely pale. I don't have a video of myself on stage, but it must have been a disaster. So I told her, do you have anybody else who can step on and take my place to translate? And she said, yeah, we do. So they brought somebody on and I went into the back and I was throwing up and shaking and convulsing. And that led into a several year bout with the most extreme anxiety I think anybody could ever deal with. I mean, I almost lost my mind. I almost committed suicide because of it. I became agoraphobic, which means I couldn't go out of my house. And it was really, really debilitating. I lost so much weight. I look like a skeleton. I'm skinny as it is, but at that time it was really horrible. And, exploring options, which people obviously do when they suffer from an ailment like that, I came across this thing called NLP. Now, NLP means neuro-linguistic programming. And it's based on the premise that we have programs running inside of our heads that were given to us in the first 7 years of life, because in the first 7 years of life, your mind is naturally in a state of hypnosis. So your dad's belief systems, your mom's belief systems, friends, even babysitters get installed inside of you. And what I always say is we get these programs before we can defend ourselves from them. So obviously, mine came from my mom because my mom is an extremely anxious person. So belief systems and programming, and that's what caused this mass anxiety. So I hired an NLP coach. I found one and we worked on the phone together. And through these things called processes, which are basically visualizations, he was able to reprogram my brain, as it were, so that not only did I completely erase the anxiety, I'm talking completely. I mean, right now I'm on the Man That Can podcast. I mean, come on, that's a scary thing, but here I am completely confident, no big deal. And then from there, I became an NLP coach because I saw the efficacy of it. I reprogrammed not only my bouts with anxiety, which we'll talk about more, but also, my belief systems about women. Do I feel like I'm enough? Do I feel like it's okay to approach a girl? Do I feel like hot girls are too good for me? Do I feel that I shouldn't approach her because you shouldn't inconvenience strangers, which is all just belief systems. And what's a belief system? It's an illusion. It's given to you by somebody before you can defend yourself, and you just buy into it. And all you guys listening probably have programming that was given to you before you could defend yourself, and you just bought into it. This is the way it is. This is the way I'm set. But is it? And what NLP shows us is no, it's not. It's not. A belief system is just an illusion. And the illusion is either a good illusion or a bad illusion. The truth is the result that it produces. So a lot of guys feel like they have one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake. I want to talk to girls. I want to be more confident. I want to be the man that can, but I'm too scared. I don't want to do it. And that's usually because of the programming. So that was a quick sum up of how I launched into NLP, how it literally saved my life, and how now I'm a dating coach who uses NLP to reprogram the brains of my clients.
That's incredible. And you touched on some things, obviously, from being under 7, and a lot of us probably can't even think back to what was really going on. Or if you might, I'm 30 now and it feels like a lifetime ago I was 7. But, we can't really remember a lot of those things. So probably, as you mentioned, you do visualization to help reprogram the mind. And I would imagine you would take people back maybe to that age and get them to start really reflecting on experiences in that time, because a lot of us don't ever take that time. So for yourself, obviously you mentioned, I know you grew up with anxiety, the insecurity and all of that sort of stuff. What was like, how do you feel you sort of carried that with you for, up until sort of 28 when you really dived into the NLP? Because I know there's a lot of people, who some people may have never heard of NLP. I'd never heard of it until maybe 4 years ago. Some people know it and maybe don't understand it. But what for you made you take the leap into it when there's, so many other things out there?
Yeah, because I tried those other things. I got on Xanax. I went to therapists. I did therapists over the phone into the United States. Nothing seemed to help. So I was in the old, like, I will try anything. I will do whatever it takes. And I was just researching and I was like, NLP, what the hell is this? Sounds like BS. Honestly, it does. Like, this guy's going to reprogram my brain. Yeah, right. And I was like, you know what, though? I mean, I'm hardly surviving here. I can hardly go outside. So screw it. I'm just going to try it. And so I got on the phone with them. Literally after one session, we did on the first session what's called timeline therapy. And just like you said, yeah, you go back. But the cool thing is that you don't even have to remember what the situation was that gave you this belief system. So with a lot of my clients who hire me, they have a belief system, I'm not enough. And so we go back to remove that belief system through visualization. It's like a guided meditation. And literally after we remove it, they can't feel what they felt before the session. So in our first session, he removed a belief system about anxiety, and literally it took off such a huge part of my anxiety. I was like, okay, sign me up. I'm doing, 20 sessions with you. I don't care what it costs. Let's just do it. And, I had really good results with it. So I do have a degree in psychology too. And I considered becoming a psychologist, but the way my life took me, it just went into NLP. And what I want to encourage your clients and listeners to realize is that, the way you are now is not the way you have to be. The way things are being produced in your life is not the way it has to be. You can change it. You literally can get control. And the cool thing about attracting women is women's attraction for you isn't based on your looks. It's not based on your six pack. It's not based on your money. It's based on how you carry yourself. And how you carry yourself is based on your programming, what you believe, how you think. So even guys who are, I just had a over 40-year-old virgin hire me. And I told him, I was like, listen, brother, when you start reprogramming that stuff, your belief system's not only about yourself, but about women, you're going to lose the big V. Like, we're going to have you jump the canyon pretty quick. Because I just talking to him, I was like, okay, well, this is exactly why, because he's just hitting print on belief systems that give him the same results. And women are quite literally designed to see that in guys, how they believe about themselves, and their attraction for you is based on how you believe about yourself. Are you confident? Are you decisive? Do you control the frame? Do you lead her to where she wants to be led to? And that all comes from your own thought systems. That's it. It doesn't matter how good you look. And, a lot of guys are hung up on that. I need money. I need good looks. No, you need confidence. And it's cool because you can just get it. You can reprogram it. It does take some work. It's not just a one night thing, but you can get that by changing your belief. So to me, NLP meshes perfectly into being what I call an unapologetic man. A silverback is what I always say, which is what you do too in your podcast, being the man that can, right? The man who believes in himself, who can make the best hand possible with the cards he's dealt and get the damn foot off the brake and put both feet on the gas, that's what my podcast is all about. And that's what the coaching is all about.
It's such a powerful thing. And you highlighted that there. And I'm sure there's a lot of blokes listening who were probably, as you were saying that, I was just thinking, when people walk into a room or walk into a gym or walk into any space that I may be in, and you can tell a lot about people, how they conduct themselves, whether they're slouched and looking at the ground or whether they are confident with their shoulders back, and they really, grab your attention. And, as you were sort of tying that in with ladies, like, that's how we need to control ourselves as well. And if we can be certain in ourselves and our ability to, as you mentioned, deal with the challenges that come up in front of us, then it's more, may provide more certainty and security for women when they're looking at men as well. But you talk about common belief systems, and a lot of us was like low self-esteem and low self-worth. What are some other things or other belief systems that you see men are challenged with?
Yeah. So I'm not enough is a gigantic one. Attractive women are too good for me. Ethnicity is an issue I deal with a lot. For example, I work with a lot of Indian men, Asians. Even it's funny because you and I are both like white dudes, and supposedly, we should be happy about that. But even white dudes are like, oh, I'm not black, right? Like everybody has an issue, and you think like you're the only dude with the issue, but you would be amazed at how many guys just share that same belief system. Also, sex is wrong, which comes from religion. Pornography issues, pornography addiction is really bad. But basically, just feeling that hot girls are too good for them, feeling guilty about wanting to approach, and even feeling guilty about being attracted to them, which is programming, right? Your mom said once when you were 6 years old, I hated how telemarketers always call. I hate how they're always bothering us. And you got the programming, I shouldn't bother people. I shouldn't bother people. And it's just some offhanded thing that your mom said, or even a programming that she had. You shouldn't bother people because it came from her grandma, who came from her grandma back to like 1650 in Brisbane when some tea trade went wrong, right? And then they get this belief system. So why the hell are you carrying your dad's belief systems? Why the hell are you carrying your mom's belief systems? Drop them, right? My brother has given me so many shitty belief systems I can't even explain. And I just actively worked on them. And now when we talk, I'm like, bro, like, I'm not even on that level anymore, man. Not to say I'm above him or anything, but I just don't even relate to what you're saying. Like, money is scarce. It takes stress to make money. You shouldn't inconvenience people or get a hotter girl than you because she's going to leave you. Bullshit. That's your own BS. If you want to buy into it, fine. I'm going to change myself. And I did to get the results. And, I always try to give pragmatic, tactile tips to listeners rather than just quote unquote selling myself to them. But what I suggest to your listeners is awareness alone is curative, which means when you get aware that your belief systems are not set in stone, who you are today is not set in stone. In fact, you are probably a reduced version of who you were meant to be, unless you've actively worked on this stuff. Awareness alone is curative. When you have that aha moment, like, really, these belief systems are just BS. Well, let me explore them. And then what do? You just drop it. Now, sometimes it takes more intrusive NLP type tactics to drop it, but oftentimes just awareness that like, oh, I do think money is hard to get. I do think money equals stress. I do think hot girls are too good for me. I do think I'm less than the other guys at the gym because they have more muscles than me. Drop it. Once you realize it, you can just drop it, just like you drop a heavy sack of potatoes that you've been carrying around your whole life.
Is there any activity or tips or tools that people who are listening now could do to start maybe identifying? You said obviously awareness is an important part to then understand what those limiting beliefs or negative beliefs may be. Is there anything that you recommend people do to start identifying them? Because we've obviously, Nate rattled off a few belief systems there before, but so we can really start uncovering what they are for us as individuals. Is there any tips and tools there?
So belief systems are always tied into emotions. So emotions are the clearest indicator of what you're thinking in the present moment. So what I suggest you do is get very cognizant of how you're feeling. Don't try to monitor your thoughts because that's very difficult to do. Most of our thoughts are unconscious, but what's real and what's easy to see is how we're feeling. So if you're feeling like shit and there's no real reason, you didn't get cracked in the head with, a rugby ball for you Australians out there. By the way, I love Australians. When I heard I could be on your podcast, I was like, oh, hell yeah. And then you always say blokes, makes me so happy as an American, makes me so happy. So, if something didn't cause you to feel crappy, you're just feeling crappy generally, then start searching your thoughts. What did I think about in the past few minutes? Okay. Oh, okay. It's this thought that I'm a piece of junk, or, I'm no good, or I yelled at myself because I made a mistake at work. Okay. Did my dad used to yell at me when I made a mistake? Did my mom require perfection? Isn't that interesting? I'm basically my mom's voice now. Why in the hell am I carrying her around with me in my pocket and letting her yell at me? In my case, it was my grandma, very negative woman. And when I would make a mistake, I would be like, Mark, you're such an idiot. I'm like, whoa, wait. That's not my voice. That's grandma's voice. Why am I buying into that? Am I really an idiot? Is there empirical evidence to prove that I'm an idiot? No. And you question it. You put attention on it. So this statement in NLP, awareness alone is curative, means that your awareness, your attention by you examining it is usually enough to cure it or to begin the curation process. And then you get, you can get disassociated, what we say, which is you don't buy into every little emotion you have. When you get angry, you don't just buy into it and say, well, I'm pissed off. That's the way it is. I got to act pissed off now. You're just being puppeted by some puppet master who's your grandma or your mom or somebody else's BS. So when you step away and you become the puppet master, you believe this. And I always say this, don't believe everything you think. Don't believe everything you think. If it creates a bad emotion, drop it. Believe those things that create good emotions. Now you may say, well, yeah, isn't that lying to myself? Brother, whether you believe crappy things about yourself or good things about yourself, both of them are lying to yourself. Like I said, the result is what's real. So create the result you want with the thoughts you want by believing yourself. And also, you were born with perfect self-esteem. If you had nothing bad happen to you from the day you were born to today, you would have fantastic self-esteem, be probably one of the happiest dudes ever. But because other people came and messed you up before you could defend yourself, some of us are miserable, as I was, and it's your job to take responsibility for that. Don't blame your mom. Don't blame your dad. They were kind of asleep, and don't hate them for what they do, as they say in the Bible. Let's say, forgive them, but also stop buying into it. Question it, examine it, put attention on it. That's the way to dissolve it. What you resist persists. What you look at disappears.
Why do you think so many people don't, like, as you were saying all of that, I'm like, this sounds so almost too easy when you think about it. So why just so many people get stuck? And I know for a long period, and there's probably still things in my life where I put my head in the sand. I don't want to look at it. But why do you feel is there some common things that people just ignore that, or don't ask those questions, or don't challenge their belief systems?
Yeah, discomfort, because when we've been acting a certain way for a long time, it's familiar, and what's familiar is comfortable. So it's simply fear of being uncomfortable. And I know you preach this. I haven't listened to more than 3 of your episodes, and I didn't hear you say this, but I can almost guarantee that you preach moving into pain willingly, moving into discomfort willingly. That in fact, if you try to have an easy life, your life will be hard. When you do the things that are hard, your life will be easy. So, at first it's uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong. When I was doing the NLP with my coach, I was like, there's a crappy feeling inside me. I don't want to do this. But it's those guys who have the courage to move into discomfort that get the good results out the other side. And, being negative is very addicting. Feeling superior to other people is very addicting. Being a victim in your own mind is very addicting because it gives your ego something to hold on to. So when you have the courage to say, yo, like, this is not working. I'm not getting the results. I'm not making the money I want. I'm not getting the girls I want. I don't have the happiness I want. Then it's your job as a masculine man to go into that pain willingly. Masculinity isn't afraid of a little discomfort. In fact, when you go into that discomfort, ironically, out the other side is more happiness than you would have had if you just dealt with it or accepted it.
Very, very good point. When you were saying, obviously, the comfort is what we know and what we're familiar with. Is there some small things that we can do on a daily basis to start, pushing, I guess, what our boundary or what our threshold with that comfort would be? Is there any, for me, I love guiding people into sort of fitness. Fitness for me is a great way to challenge yourself, and what you learn there, you can put across other areas of your life. But for yourself, is there ways that you work on helping people get comfortable with being uncomfortable?
Yeah. So I have a statement in my coaching, which is every day do something that sucks. Now that goes in tandem with every day do something childish, do something fun. So while we want to do something that sucks, we don't. Do you know who David Goggins is? Have you heard of him?
Yeah,
The
love David
Navy.
Goggins.
Yeah, me too, bro. Me too. So like David Goggins, pretty extreme, dude. He's like, I want to be the hardest motherfucker up in this place. You can't bring me down. Like, okay, I get it. And a part of us should do that. And I know you resonate with that. Obviously, you're into lifting weights. I'm looking at your picture right now. You're clearly ripped. So and confident looking, by the way, too. Body language is huge. But every day do something that sucks. That in fact, your happiness is on the other side of discomfort. So, work out. Try to better your diet. Every day I meditate. Every day I take a cold shower. Every day I try to do something that I don't want to do, take out the trash. Right now it's becoming spring here in Colorado, and we're getting all these mice coming into our garage. And dude, I'm just killing them like I'm freaking, like I'm death himself, bro. I'm just sniping them left and right with these mouse traps that I've set out. And I don't necessarily like to go get the mice who are dead, because I also have compassion in my heart. And then I go throw them out in the backyard, which is essentially a forest. And then the possums come and eat them. But it's like when I do it, I say, listen, this is bettering me as a man because I'm doing something I really don't want to do. So by putting and reframing the things that suck in your life into the frame of this is improving me, that's how you voluntarily go into pain each day and then better yourself, so that when it comes time to reprogram your brain, when it comes time to challenge those belief systems that aren't even yours, you've been going through pain every day, just like what you said, and you're more able to do it. You've developed that discipline to go into that pain willingly. So that, in my opinion, is the most effective way. And you don't have to do it all in one go. This is a marathon, not a sprint, right? You just a little bit each day, every day, just try to improve one little thing. And then with time, your life will be completely different, as mine is. I mean, bro, I couldn't even look at a girl, let alone go talk to one, to where I went into pain willingly for years, right? Working on myself. And, not to toot my own horn, but now it's when I go into the bars and the nightclubs, even day game, talking to a girl in the supermarket, it's on. Hey, do you call them birds? Is that what I heard in one of your episodes?
Yeah, birds.
Yeah. I was like, birds, what the hell is he talking? So it took me a second to think about it. And I was like, oh, I think that's Australian for woman. So I was like, yeah, that's awesome. So like, bro, I'm sniping birds left and right because, I've developed that inside myself. It wasn't an overnight thing, but I'll tell you, NLP is definitely, in my opinion, a black hole shortcut to do it as quickly as possible. And just realize it, that your beliefs are illusions. So choose the best illusion for you.
Yeah, one that's going to serve you and give you the outcome that you're looking for. Is it something that you still have to work on though? Or you just do it once and you sorted for life?
Yeah. So each belief system is a one-time go. So we do one process on one belief system. For example, I'm not enough. It's gone. Like literally my clients cannot feel what they felt before they did the process. Now, there are many belief systems. So, what I do, and certainly I would never try to close people on my coaching over a podcast like this. What I'd love is for them to come listen to my podcast, the Unapologetic Man podcast. But I do have a 3-month coaching program to which they get 12 weeks of that NLP, where we go after all the different belief systems, traumas, schemas, meta programs, archetypes. So while I might remove the belief system, I'm not enough in one session, there may be other things clinging on to that, which is like, money is scarce, or I don't deserve happiness, something like that. So while again, we can do one at a time, many times it does take, multiple goes to really clean up the mess. It's like roots in a forest. You uproot one tree, other trees are going to come with it. But then there's other trees also there that you have to uproot before the forest is clear. So that's kind of the analogy I use for that.
Spot on. And it's over here in Australia, maybe similar over in the States there, but like for a lot of us men, where we adopt the beliefs that we need to be the protector and provider. And so often, that's at the expense of our relationships and everything that goes with improving that, from communication, intentional time, but also our finances and where our money goes, and our mateships and all of that sort of stuff. So, but sort of what I'm picking up is like a lot of that's just obviously a poor belief system around what we believe to be true. So we can actually go in and reframe that so we can feel, one of the biggest challenges for myself, Mark, was learning to let go of, I have to always be working, I have to always be striving. And you can, go for a game of golf one afternoon and not feel lazy and certain things around that. So everything you're saying there is we're able to reframe it. We're able to change the illusion to something that's more empowering and fulfilling for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there has to be balance, right? Like, I hear you. We've all fallen into the workaholic thing, especially us entrepreneurs. But you really, and I think this is true for you as well. I almost have to make myself relax and go play golf, or make myself, watch some TV sometimes, because I'm such like a go-getter. I want to just go, go, go. And it really, the hardest project and the hardest war you're ever going to fight is the one between your two ears. And when you get control of that war, which I feel like I have, and I feel like you have too, life just becomes so much easier, finally working with you rather than against you. And how do you get control of that war? Well, some of the things I said, which is really monitor your emotions, because that's going to clue you into what you're thinking, and get intrusive with it. Question your thoughts, belief systems, and drop them. That's the first step to getting control of it. And for me, what I teach about attraction, women's attraction, is based on the war inside your ears. She can see it. Women are programmed just by your little mannerisms, the tone of your voice. Do you supplicate to her, or are you confident in yourself and you speak to her in a certain way? It all comes from the inner BS. So, podcasts like yours, podcasts like mine, the work that we're doing here, in my opinion, is absolutely necessary. And there's not enough people teaching this. And that too, brother, is why so many guys go their whole life and end up on their deathbed saying, it just didn't feel like I was who I was supposed to be. It feels like I really settled for second best. And our job here in these podcasts is to point men to the direction of, brother, you can have anything you want. And I know it sounds too good to be true. I know there's a part inside each of your listeners that's resisting that, but it's true. It's true. This is how millionaires become millionaires. This is how, anybody who you respect, they're no better than you on a fundamental level. They just took control of the mechanism and decided to become that successful, decided to become a girl magnet, decided to get the happiness they really want by approaching their fear head on. There is no way around your fear. You have to face that bastard directly. When you have the courage to do that, that's when life becomes something of a dream.
That's what we need to do. Use fear. There's a saying that use fear as your compass and step into it. And as what you were saying at the start, it's like we need to get ourselves to a point where we do feel confident and certain in ourselves that we can deal with whatever shows up in front of us. It's not necessarily trying to prepare for everything that could happen, but preparing ourselves to know that we can deal with it. Yeah. You, obviously, specializing with entrepreneurs and go-getters and growth-orientated people, there's, we're all at different stages, but I would, say I fit into a few of those. I know some of the people may fall upon my podcast or your podcast when they're at that first stage of wanting to grow. And, we've all got idols and people that we look up to, and generally they're confident, right? They have confidence to be, creating a business, to be chasing goals, to be looking at themselves. But why do you feel people who may be successful in one area, for example, running a great business or being a successful entrepreneur, but then they fall down in the women department?
Yeah, belief systems, right? Like a lot of guys who hire me are successful. And I do have guys who have yet to be successful as well, but it's just the belief system around women, which, they're not mutually exclusive, meaning just because you're successful in business, it doesn't mean you're going to believe you're enough for a hot girl. That's a completely different playing field. It's like the difference between rugby and soccer, right? It's a totally different playing field. There's some things that mix, generally guys who are successful with women are also good salesmen. They're charismatic. they're good communicators like you are. But it doesn't mean that just because you have money, you're going to get women, because it's a whole different avenue of belief systems. So you can be crushing it in every area of your life. And I'll tell you, a lot of guys do. And oftentimes the one area they don't crush is the female area, because that is one complex, weird thing. I'll tell you what, I understand female psychology to a deep level, but even I sometimes are like, what in the hell are these women thinking? But once you understand anthropologically why women do the way things that they do, why they are seemingly so crazy to us, once you understand the game, you can master the game. And I'll tell you, game like attracting women is just a skill set. Just like swinging a baseball bat is a skill set. You know, just like throwing a boomerang for you Australians is a skill set. Forgive my assumption there of your guys' culture. By the way, do you throw boomerangs over there?
No, I've never. I used to have one growing up, but I never. It's like a full, talent, and it's something that I do not have. That's for sure.
Okay, gotcha. Well, just to reinforce the assumptions you have about Americans, yes, we all do ride horses, and yes, we all do wear guns on our hips. All of us, we all have guns. So anyway, with that joke aside, it is a skill set, and once you do enough reps, once you practice it, it's pretty easy to master it once you understand it. So again, just because you're good at rugby, it doesn't mean you're going to be good with girls in any way whatsoever. And you would be surprised at how many insecurities very successful men have. Like, I get to work with men one-on-one, and I get to hear about what they're suffering with. And if you listeners think that you're just the one guy who suffers with XYZ insecurity, I can guarantee you, even the guys who are seemingly so good looking, successful, and just crushing it in life, you'd be surprised that they too even have insecurities. And that gives us a little bit of comfort. You're not alone in this battle. There's other brothers fighting shoulder to shoulder with you in the trenches. And, you can fix this part of your life. That's really the message that I want to give. And that's by questioning your thoughts. Don't believe everything you think. I think that's pretty much the core message of today's episode.
Do you think as well? So I'm just thinking like that movie Hitch. Do you feel like it's always going to, you could win, I'll say win looking at it, but you could get any girl you want, but then obviously, because you're helping people become, and the reason why I say this is, there's probably people going, well, that's a bit manipulative, and, what if you end up with the wrong person? But I think because you're changing belief systems and you're making men self-aware at the same time, they're going to probably be more open and communicate better if it isn't the right fit. Is that sort of what you see as well? Or is it, people can obviously use it however they like?
So if you think this sounds too good to be true, is that your belief system or your dad's or your mom's? That's the first thing I would say.
Yep.
And I understand it may seem too good to be true. And if I'm understanding your question correctly, are you saying, are we as men who get good at this skill set able to attract anybody, or does the variable of being compatible with somebody play into it? Is that your question?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So, I always say from quantity comes quality, which means we have to date and talk to lots of different girls before we pick our queen. And, I ran through, oh God, I don't even know how many dates and girlfriends and things before I found my queen, and I do live with her now. I am in a committed relationship. We have a kid together. So I'm not just a player out there playing the field. I do still go out and speak to women because it's my job as a dating coach to keep my chops up. But we have certain rules in place that I don't go over because I have more honor than a phalanx of Spartans. So basically, yeah, man, compatibility is hugely important. But if you don't have the skill set to attract that girl, then you're not going to get her just because you guys click. Because even if you click, and this is why guys get friend zone, it's basically a really amazing girl who they click with, who they're not attractive in the ways that she's looking for. So they get friend zone. Oh my God, you're my soulmate, but I don't want to have sex with you. I mean, how many of us have heard that? That's because they don't have the skill set. So yeah, compatibility is super important. You're not just going to go make any hot girl your wife. You guys have to click, and that's not controllable. It's like a lock and key. It just fits or it just doesn't. And that's why I always say, fill the top of your pipeline with lots of different prospects, and out the bottom will come the good ones. And then you can pick your queen from abundance.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting, that friend zone part. Like I remember growing up, and you'd always see, and generally it's the really nice guys that get friend zoned because they're too afraid to make that first move or whatever. And time just passes by and then it's like, oh, we're best mates now. And you're like, dude, you had the perfect opportunity. What have you done? It's like, waiting for the right time. And it's like, well, as you sort of tie it back in, if you want something, you got to do things to change it. If you want wealth, if you want love, if you want lust, even, like you got to go for it. You got to put yourself out there. You got to step into that fear zone, the unknown zone, to take the risks and get the feedback.
Yeah, they're always waiting for the right time, and then the opportunity passes them by. So, and if you're talking to 4 different girls, you're not going to be so worried that you're going to lose this one opportunity, this one possible golden opportunity. No, you have tons of opportunities. And if you miss this bus, you'll just take the next one. So that's why, in my coaching particularly, I set up a lot of different ways to fill the top of your funnel with tons of birds so that the best ones come out the bottom. And therefore you don't have that scarcity mindset. You're not needy, which is extremely unattractive to women. You don't try to pull her into the outcome you hope will manifest, but you just let it ride. You let it flow. And, having that abundance mindset is super important, not only with women, but also money, success, life. Life is abundant. It's meant to be abundant. So any scarcity mindset you have, there is not enough of. XYZ is just an illusion. And once again, who gave you that illusion? Is it yours or is it your mom's? I think you'll find it's probably somebody else's. So drop it, kick it to the curb. It's not working for you. Life is abundant. Think bigger. Think bigger. Life can get so good if you just change your thinking.
100%. Even when you said that, it's like you could have 4 girls on the go, and it obviously allows you to not feel needy and various other things. You can really just allow it to play out. And it brought something up for me just there where I was like, I felt guilty, back in the day when I was single. It's like you had to be talking to one person at once because otherwise people thought you were a player or you weren't appreciating the person that you were talking to. But as you sort of really touched on, it's like, well, when you're getting to know people, you need to, it sounds bad, but it is a numbers game, right? Because you need to be finding those right people. If you spend 6 months trying to figure it out with one, and once again, obviously there's different boundaries and expectations as those conversations go on. But like at the start, realistically, you can talk to as many people as you want. You don't have to just go, right, we're in a great discussion here. She could be the one. So, well, yeah, you see how much further forward it goes, because you might get friend zoned, or you might find out that she's not compatible for you, or you might just get bored, or life gets busy. There's so many things that happen.
To your point too, I'm not suggesting having sex with all 4 girls. And in my opinion, it's okay to talk to 4 different girls at once, just be texting, maybe go on some dates. But for me, just the way I ran my program, when I started having sex with one, I wouldn't be having sex with multiple girls. That was always the way I kind of felt morally okay to be dating multiple girls at once. And also when they ask you, are you sleeping with somebody else? You're like, no. And then she's like, are you talking to somebody else? You say, yeah. And usually that's not enough for her to break up with you over. And I think it's the morally right way to do it. Just my personal opinion. Certainly, I have clients that run a harem pretty much. And I do teach guys to do that if they want to do that. But for me, just being kind to women, loving women, respecting them, they're people too, obviously. And I absolutely love women. And that's something that guys should do too. Otherwise, they'll feel it from you and they won't get attracted to you because of it. So, I always think being a good dude means doing what's right. Now, how do you know what's right? Well, it's very simple. Is what I'm doing creating suffering for another person? If it is, it's not right. If it isn't, then it is okay to do. Just my opinion about what's right and wrong.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. And I think the biggest thing I took from that is like honesty. If we morally right and honesty, I think a lot of us, from my experience and growing up with men that I work with, is we aren't honest. Like a lot of us would rather just have a lie or manipulate to not have to deal with what's in front of us. And going back to what you said earlier, if you take the easy road, life's hard. And if you do the hard stuff, life becomes easy. And you just tell your current reality. If you are speaking to multiple people, then that's it, because it's going to help people know where you're at, and you get to have the next conversations that need to be had, or change certain things in your life to get towards that outcome that you're looking to achieve. Otherwise, it's just constantly, living in fear, or the truth might come out, and it's not a fun place to be. You start getting more, you create more anxiety in your life and overwhelm.
And you get a brick thrown through your window.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been that bad yet.
Oh, I have, brother. I have. Stalker. I call him Stalker Texas Ranger, which is a TV show over here. Walker Texas Ranger. I'm like, you're not a Stalker Texas Ranger, are you? I'll tell you what, bro. Like when you get them deep enough in their emotions, bricks start getting thrown. So be careful who you show where you live. When you start dating multiple girls, whole different problem that comes from, having sexual choice, but worth it in my opinion. Cause then you could pick the best one for you, a girl you really click with. And for me, man, I asked myself, do I want to get to the end of my life, be on my deathbed and look back with regrets, look over at my fat wife who couldn't fit into a canoe without capsizing it, and ask myself, was this the life that I wanted to have? And that visualization was hell on me. I said, hell no, dude. I am going to kick ass in this life. I'm going to get the best girl for me. And, I have her now and it was worth it. It was completely worth it. And I'll tell you, the ramp up to getting her was pretty damn fun too. So it's a challenge. You have to go into your fears. It's not easy, but is it worth it? Hell yes. Hell yes. Definitely self-improvement is worth it. You guys wouldn't be listening by now unless you agreed with that. So you're definitely on the right track.
100%. Yeah. Everyone who's tuning in has already made that first step. So we got one last question for you, Mark. What is your definition of being a man? I love getting, I guess the context around it is understanding, obviously in Australia, and I would imagine in America, there's a societal norm or a generalized stereotype of what a man is. And obviously you would definitely know we're also unique and that can vary from person to person. So I'd love for someone to connect with your definition and share that with us.
Man, it's so hard to sum that up in one statement. There's so many statements that flew through my brain. And admittedly, I was caught a bit off guard with that question, but I would say a man does what he has to do, not always what he wants to do.
Oh, I love that. That is incredible. I love it. I love it. Well answered. And I never tell anyone. I feel, to be fair, every time I tell someone, I'm like, I feel so guilty for throwing it on people, but also I love the rawness of it and unpreparedness of it because it's authentic. Yeah. And finally, Mark, where can everyone find you? Right? I know a lot of people are going to be sitting there probably taking tons of notes and shaking their head and nodding their head going, this is just incredible. And, maybe this is the area they need to improve upon. Where can people find you? Obviously, you've got the podcast, you've got Instagram. Can you tell us all the links and I'll make sure they're all attached in the show notes. So everyone listening, all you need to do is swipe down and click the button and away you go.
I appreciate that, brother. So yeah, I oftentimes just request people to listen to my podcast first. Certainly I wouldn't expect you to get on a coaching call with me unless you've had some experience with me. And also with NLP, it's best that your subconscious mind is in some rapport with me. So I would suggest listening to several episodes first before anything like that is done. So it's called the Unapologetic Man Podcast. It is available in Australia. And if you can spell unapologetic, then you have every right to the gold that I drop on that podcast. So we'd love to have you guys. I love the Aussies. Oh my God. I still get reviews from Australia and they're my favorite, man. Just something about you guys. It just seems like there's such a lighthearted nature to you. And maybe I'm misinterpreting. Maybe a lot of you guys are like, what the hell? You don't understand us at all. But lighthearted, fun-loving, lovers of life is the way I think about my Aussie listeners and my Aussie clients who I occasionally get. And I was so stoked to come on this podcast because I know you're quite big in Australia. So would love to have you guys listen, would be honored. And then, if you want to jump on a free consultation with me, I talk about it in the podcast. So I'll just let the podcast explain it to you. The Unapologetic Man Podcast with Mark Singh.
Awesome. That's in the show notes. But Mark, thank you so much for your time. And I know, you've got such a wealth of knowledge and we only just scratched the surface, but I've, on the iPad, I can't say even a page anymore because it just keeps going, but I've got tons of notes that I look forward to re-listening to this episode and asking myself some of the questions that you threw out and some of that sort of stuff. So I'm excited to get stuck into that. But once again, thank you so much. And I look forward to following the rest of your journey.
Thank you so much for having me, brother. I really appreciate it.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Remember to hit the subscribe button and share it on social media to go in the chance to win a one-on-one coaching session with me. Remember, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. So thank you for your time. And remember to check out some of the older episodes and get ready and excited for some new episodes coming through. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachie Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.